Panic attacks are horrible. When you are struggling to breathe, and your heart is racing, your chest is hurting, and your vision is blurring, you may well think you are dying. This fear of dying from a panic attack is common in panic disorder, and plays a big part in why you continue to have panic attacks. But more on that later. But the reason you clicked on this video is to find out, can you actually die from a panic attack? So I searched online medical archives and websites to see if I could find any research or evidence that you could die from a panic attack. All the websites I found, including anxiety specialist websites and government health websites, say no. When I looked into medical papers that are publicly available, I could not find anything that specifically looks at the risk of dying during a panic attack. This is probably because if you have a healthy heart, you are unlikely to have a heart attack and die. The only papers I could find looked at risks in patients with coronary heart disease, like this one. In this study, they tried to induce a panic attack in 65 patients who had coronary heart disease. 35 patients already had a diagnosis of panic disorder. The 30 in the control group did not have panic disorder. They used something called the Panic Challenge Test, which involves inhaling a mixture of gas containing 35% carbon dioxide and 65% oxygen, which creates a suffocation sensation. Yeah, brutal, isn't it? 74% of the patients in the panic disorder group experienced a panic attack, versus only 6.7% in the control group. I will explain more about why there was this difference later. Using MRI imaging, they found that the people who had a panic attack were more likely to develop a reversible myocardial perfusion defect. So, what is a reversible myocardial perfusion defect? Well, it means that under stress, a small area of the heart does not get enough blood flow. It's called reversible because once the stress is gone, enough blood reaches that area again. This reversible defect shows artery blockage, and if not treated, could result in a heart failure. The study concluded that panic attacks in patients who have coronary heart disease appears to be bad for the heart. So, maybe this is the smoking gun that your anxiety has been trying to warn you about. But let me add some perspective. The conclusion of this study is actually no surprise. Everyone in this study had coronary heart disease, which means they have narrowed arteries. When you have a panic attack, the heart does have to work much harder, just like when you exercise, walk upstairs, or have an argument with an infuriating colleague. If you have narrowed arteries, then any of these activities can mean not enough blood reaching parts of your heart, which is going to be bad for your heart. But if you have a normal heart, then it can cope fine with exercise, walking upstairs, or having a panic attack. Think about it. A panic attack is the body trying to run from or fight a danger that isn't there. The human body would be a pretty bad design if every time we had to run from or fight something, we had a heart attack and died. I don't think the human race would have survived if that was the case. So, there is a risk if you have coronary heart disease, but no one died in this study, and there are medications that people with heart disease can take to lower the risk. And if you have a healthy heart, then you are not at risk of dying from a panic attack. But it's still important to stop your panic attacks, because having panic attacks for the rest of your life is going to impact the quality of your life, and constant anxiety over a lifetime can impact your physical health, which I'm going to cover in another video. But let's come back to some important points I mentioned earlier. Firstly, I mentioned that in the study, 2 of the 30 people who did not have panic disorder had a panic attack from breathing the high carbon dioxide mixture, while in the panic disorder group, 26 of the 35 had a panic attack. So why was this? Well, this mixture would have made patients who already knew they had heart disease feel like they were suffocating, so it's no surprise that at least some of them panicked. But why only 2 in the control group compared with 26 in the panic disorder group? It's because people with panic disorder have a very low panic attack threshold, and this threshold is due to what I mentioned at the beginning. People with panic disorder have a pathological fear of panic attacks, and many have a fear of dying from a panic attack. If you did not have this fear, you would not have panic attacks. But despite watching this video, and many others telling you that the chances of dying from a panic attack are pretty much zero unless you have some very serious heart problems, you still have this fear. So, how do you get rid of this fear so your panic attacks stop? Well, it's not easy, but it is possible. In my time counselling, I was able to teach people how to stop their panic attacks. And I have put everything I used to teach my clients into one half-hour video. In that video, I talk a lot about why you have a low panic threshold and how you can raise your panic threshold so that you don't have panic attacks. And if you want to watch that video, click here.